Hi, I hope you're having a great day. Welcome back to NikkoVenture. If you've been watching my videos about caregiving here in Japan, chances are you might have seen a video or two where I talked about this. We've defined this. We've discussed the repercussions of failing this and the rewards you may earn upon passing this. We've also discussed several routes one may take to take this. Heck, I've also shared some tips about taking this. Although even to this day, I still doubt if those tips were really of any help at all. Nevertheless, we've already understood the basics of this. More or less. Now we will discuss the exam questions themselves. The total number of questions on the exam is 125. Needless to say, I won't be able to discuss each of them in this video. There are 13 subject matters that this exam covers, and they are divided into two parts, the morning and the afternoon. In this video, we will be focusing on the morning part of the exam. The passing score is 75 points. That means you will pass if you have a score of 75 and above.
No shit, Sherlock!
I will not guarantee that by watching this video, you will be able to pass the exam. But at the very least, I really do hope you'll get something out of this. Ningen no songen to jiritsu. Ningen no songen to jiritsu is one of the subject matters covered in the morning part of the exam. And the exam question under this subject matter that we will discuss from here on out is this. First, let's just appreciate how they put an English word, two English words to be exact, in that question. It's as if having it there would make the question a lot easier. This question is somewhat a situational type of question where you're given a question and then in order to answer that question, you must scrutinize the situation given to you. Let's go ahead and dissect the situation. Mr. A, 87, male and with care level 3, has been living with his wife in their house. But 7 years ago, he had a stroke and as a result, have been paralyzed on the left side of his body ever since. As such, he's been using the home visit care service. However, lately he chokes while eating and was rushed to the hospital due to aspiration of foreign material. That is, his food went through not to his esophagus but to his airway. And that, ladies and gentlemen, can be fatal. His doctor said to his wife that if they still want to have Mr. A live with them in their house, it would be advisable to have a gastrostomy. That is, Mr. A would have to have a hole in his stomach and he will be eating his food through that hole in his stomach. Now, it's not stated here, but by having gastrostomy, the life-threatening aspiration of foreign materials would be rendered null. That's because Mr. A, from here on out, if he chooses to have a gastrostomy, will no longer eat his food through his mouth. The wife basically said it's pointless to argue and assented, but the eldest son, the one who is not even living with his parents, disputed and argued. I'm not really sure why. The wife consulted the care worker or the home helper who has been caring for Mr. A up until now. Obviously, you're the home helper. The question, how would you respond based on the professional ethics of a care worker? Number 1. 医療的なことについては発言できません. You're basically saying here that you cannot say anything when it comes to something medical. Dude, even if you're not a doctor or a nurse for that matter, you are still a health care provider. Although your knowledge when it comes to something medical is limited, it will never be zero. You can definitely say something medical within the borders of your occupation and profession. So yeah, this is wrong. Number 2. 医師の判断ならそれに従うのが良いと思います. Dude, as a care worker or a caregiver, one of your roles is being an advocate to the patient, or in this case, to the elderly. Yes, you're a healthcare professional, but it is not every time that you must side with the doctors. After all, the title of this subject matter is Ningen no songen to jiritsu, human independence and dignity. The songen and jiritsu part, well, that's not for the doctor, but for Mr. A. Number 4. 息子さんの気持ちより一緒に暮らすお子さんの気持ちが優先されますよ. Even if the son of Mr. A is acting like a bitch in this situation, he is still
family.
Your care extends to the whole
Family.
not only to Mr. A. Do not sow discord among the family members by prioritizing one over the other. Number 5. 息子さんと一緒に医師の話を聞きに行ってみてください. I just don't get the point of view saying this to Mr. A's wife. It's like,
because I don't care.
Number 3, and yes, this one is the correct answer. A さん自身はどのようにお考えなのでしょうか? As I mentioned earlier, one of your roles as a care worker is being an advocate to the elderly, to Mr. A. He is the focal point of your care service. He is the one affected by the recent events in his life. So it is just and fair to ask his thoughts about it. 人間関係と communication. Another situational question. So, Mr. B, not really sure if he's related to Mr. A, has been living alone. He's 80 years of age and he basically fell.
Whoa! Oh! He needs some milk!
When asked by the home visit care worker if he's still up to the challenge of living alone, even though he fell, Mr. B said, 大丈夫です, but with a face like this. Now, out of the 5 choices, you should choose the one that best describes what Mr. B is trying to convey. With this question alone, you can learn 3 things. First is the higengo-teki and gengo-teki communication. Gengo-teki communication is communication using words. If you're not using words to communicate, that's higengo-teki communication, which includes Mr. B's facial expression in this situation. Next is the word mujin, which is an example of a Japanese word whose individual kanji characters doesn't have the same meaning as the word. This means a spear or a lance, while this one means a shield. I had to use my imagination just to familiarize myself with these kanji characters and to integrate their meaning to mujin. Mujin, by the way, means opposition or inconsistency. To make you understand what I'm talking about, here are sample Japanese words that really make sense. And then there's mujin. The third thing you will learn in this question is not even written here, but it is undeniably important to know in order to answer this question correctly. I'm talking about the common Japanese expression, meiwaku wo kakeru, or in English, to cause someone trouble. Respect here in Japan doesn't only mean bowing before someone. It also means avoiding annoying someone or causing them any inconvenience. The answer is 4. Mr. B's words contradict his non-verbal cues, which is in this case, his face. Why did Mr. B doesn't directly tell the care worker what he really feels at that moment? Perhaps Mr. B doesn't want to cause worry onto you, the care worker, even though he is paying you to basically worry for him. Mr. B is just trying to be polite to you in this situation, but his face betrays his true feelings. 社会の理解。次のうちセルフヘルプグループに該当するものとして最も適切なものを一つ選びなさい。Obviously, we must first know what is this self-help group in the context of Japanese caregiving. Self-help group, according to this, are informal associations of people who come together to find ways to improve their living conditions. A self-help group is basically this. It has nothing to do with the neighborhood association, the student council, or the organization of professionals, not even with the volunteer organization. Now, even if you don't know these, you can answer this question by looking into this. Perhaps they wrote this in hiragana purposefully to make it less obvious. In Japanese, there are 2 kanji characters that can be read as mono. This and this. Needless to say, we're not talking about chairs, tables, or cats here, so you can rule this one out. This means a person. And you can literally find this kanji in choice number 3. Kaigo no Kihon, ICF, or International Classification of Functioning, Disability, and Health, or in Japanese, Kokusai Seikatsuki no Bunrui ni okeru Kankyo inchi o arawasu kijutsu to shite mottomo tekisetsu na mono wo hitotsu irabi nasai. So, ICF is one of the most important concepts you must familiarize when you're planning to take on the National Caregiver Certification Exam here in Japan. ICF is just a tool used by many healthcare providers to better plan care services, treatment, and rehabilitation of patients or the elderly. It classifies various factors, not just the health of the person, but also the environment, that person's value system, and the like. The question is asking for the statement that represents the environmental factors or section of ICF. ICF environmental factors may include the society you belong to, the inanimate things in your vicinity, and the people, family or otherwise, within your community or neighborhood. I must admit, ICF is a bit tricky and sometimes confusing, really confusing. Number 1 is a disease, and diseases deal with the normal functioning of your body's one or more organs. Number 2 might be a bodily function or personal factor. Either way, it doesn't belong to the environmental one. Number 3 might also belong to personal factors, while number 4 might belong to participation. That leaves us with number 5, which states that your daughter is your neighbor and is visiting you every day. As such, your daughter belongs to the community of people within your immediate environment. Communication 技術。介護記録を書くときの留意点として最も適切なものを一つ選びなさい。In doing your recording as a care worker, you must do it within the day, during your shift, preferably before your shift ends. Moreover, in your entry, all objective and subjective data must be separated and grouped together. The main subject of your recording is not you, but the elderly under your care. The focus is on the elderly, not you. One piece of advice I had during my time in a Japanese caregiving college is that when taking an exam, a Japanese exam, all the choices that have the word dake in it is automatically considered wrong, or at the very least, doubtful. Always remember that when you input data in your recording, always include the source of your data, especially if the said data was received from other sources of data. Seikatsu Shien Gijutsu. Sometimes the exam gives you an image and asks you the meaning of that image. In this case, let's use this image. Sentaku hyoji is a list of symbols that serve as a guide on how to properly wash, dry, and handle your clothes. Aside from ICF, this sentaku hyoji is also very important to familiarize. There are a lot of sentaku hyoji, but they are fewer compared to kanji. However, like kanji, sentaku hyoji also have radicals. These are the 5 basic symbols of sentaku hyoji. This one represents a standard washing machine in your home. This represents bleach. This is a method of drying. This is, obviously, a method of ironing, while this is machine cleaning. These lines represent the strength of machine wash. Single means weak, double means strong, while no line means normal strength. These dots represent the temperature of drying and ironing. The more dots, the hotter. These numbers represent the upper limit water temperature of your average washing machine at home. This, dude, come on, this means no. There are still a lot of sentaku hyoji. Alas, we don't have enough time in this video. So, this image here means the clothing can be home machine washed with an upper limit of 30 degrees Celsius of water and be washed in weak strength. 介護過程。次の記述のうち、介護過程の展開におけるアセスメントの説明として最も適切なものを一つ選びなさい。So, in number 1, you're basically asking consent here to perhaps implement your care plan, while in number 2, you're still scrutinizing your planning strategies. In number 3, you're about to make an objective for your care plan which is still within the planning phase of the care process. Number 4 deals with evaluating your implemented care. Number 5 deals with clarification of the elderly's needs or problems to clearly assess the situation. Assess. And in the question itself, the word assess or assessment is literally written there. So that's it. Those are the subject matters covered in the morning part of the exam and their corresponding questions, at least some questions. This video may be one of the long videos I made in this channel, and if you're still there watching this part of the video, azas. I really do hope this would give you a little bit of an image of what this National Caregiver Certification Exam is and give you an idea of what are some of the important things you should be focusing to beat the exam. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and of course, share this video with an interested friend. And if you haven't subscribed yet, kindly please subscribe. It would really mean a lot. Once again, thank you so much for your time watching this video. See you in the next one. The next one would be a little bit difficult than this one, but